Hello and welcome to another episode of People You Need to Know. I'm Leighah Wool. I recently just graduated from Stonybrook University and I graduated from Evanston Township in 2017. I want to introduce my former coach, Brittanny Johnson, and where are we at right now?
So Leighah, we're in the Michael Arrington Wellness Center, which the ETHS Foundation played a big part in making sure that our kids could have this amazing facility.
Yeah, we did not have this when I was here. I think it's really beneficial to athletes to be incorporated into weightlifting and training because it's a really big part of college basketball, as you know.
For sure. Did your weight room at Stonybrook look like this?
It did. This actually, when I posted online and stuff, a lot of people are like, oh, this is a high school weight room. I'm like, yeah, we're like that. But so why we're interviewing Coach Johnson, as I like to call her, it feels weird calling you Brittanny, but she has had a big impact on my life, and she only coached me for a year, and I think the success that I had just off that year alone has really impacted me in being a successful basketball player later in my college career in the beginning. So we're just going to get to know her a little bit because she's definitely somebody who needs to be recognized more as a powerful force within the Evanston community. So just to kind of kick things off, you know, warm it up a little bit, tell us about yourself, like where did you grow up?
Well, thank you for saying all of that. Just this entire interview process and sitting here with you is such an amazing thing. I met you as a 17-year-old senior, and I know you probably believe this too in those moments. I don't know that you would have even wanted to do this or been excited to do this, but yes, you're doing a great job so far.
So. Thank you.
So what was your question?
Where did you grow up?
So I grew up west side of Chicago, East Garfield Park, which is actually a great area for basketball. So I didn't start off playing like at a young age, but once I started playing, it was so many great courts to go to. I grew up right by Garfield Park, which I don't know if you've ever heard of Golden Dome. No. But during the summer, like pros and college players will always come down and play. Okay. So I would be able to watch, and it's just, to be a basketball player, there's probably no better place to grow up.
It sounds a lot like New York, because they do that a lot in like Brooklyn and stuff. Okay, so kind of just being, because I know you played, they don't know you played in college, but kind of transitioning from being a college player to coaching, because I know you coached college players as well, and then transition to high school. Can you kind of like speak to kind of the difference in levels and also you're transitioning from being a player to becoming a coach?
Yeah, you know, I never wanted to be a coach. Like growing up, it wasn't something that I thought I would ever get into. But I would say about college, my college coach at the time would say, you really should get into coaching. And I'm like, is that a sustainable career? Because at the time, you know, I know my high school coach didn't make much money. You know, as a college player, you don't realize how much your coaches are making. So, you know, when she told me how much she was making, I said, well, maybe this is something I could really think about because it was sustainable. And so when I decided that I wanted to get into coaching, it was very different than being a player. Yeah. Like I was a pretty good player. So
she was a really good player.
I was okay. I had to really learn how to teach the game in a way that you guys could understand it. So a lot of times, like my verbiage or the way I say things, sometimes I might get a look like, what does that even mean? Yeah. So I had to slow my pace down to make sure that you guys were getting what you needed to become better players. So I would say coaching has taught me a lot of patience. Way more patience than I probably had as a player.
Okay.
So.
Would you say high school? Well, I probably could see like high school needs a lot more patience than college players.
I think at the younger levels, we need to get back to teaching fundamentals. Yeah. We got a lot of people learning how to do Euro steps before they can do proper right and left hand layups. So, you know, we keep everything simple here. Yeah. Sometimes I think you guys get kind of bored with what we do.
No, I think especially between you and my dad, everyone kind of knows my dad, Steve Wool. Fundamentals has been a big part of my game, and I think that's why I have been so successful, because I'm not athletic at all. God knows I don't even jump on my shot.
A little bit.
So I think the teaching of fundamentals and also kind of seeing how social media has played a big part in basketball in this new generation, because when I was younger, you know, we didn't really, if you had a mixtape, like you were top of the top. You know, like you're like, oh, you have a mixtape. But now I feel like everyone has a mixtape. Not to say that if you have a mixtape, you're not good, but I think it's definitely changed. And I still do think that fundamentals are a very big part of basketball. And I actually really appreciate that at Evanston we do take a lot of pride in keeping that, because you really do need fundamentals.
Yeah, you gotta keep it simple.
Thank you. Kind of going off that, so why did you choose to coach here at Evanston?
So it's actually like a really interesting story. I don't think I've ever told you this, but so like I told you, I never really thought about getting into coaching.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be a high school coach.
Yeah.
So once I did get into coaching, I wanted to kind of, you know, be a college coach. And a friend of mine reached out to me, and she said, you know, I have the perfect job for you. And I was like, where is it? She's like, Evanston Township. I was like, I'm okay. I don't think that's the right, you know, fit for me. I just have different, you know, goals. And, you know, we talked for a little bit longer, and then that was it.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, she reached back out, and she said, you know what? Like, you gotta at least have a conversation with the AD. So it was funny because at the time, I was actually sitting at my mom's house. So when I got off the phone, she said, you know, what was that about? And I said, oh, just a job at Evanston Township, but I don't think it's right for me. I think I'm gonna, you know, just do something else, because I had some other things going on too.
Obviously.
And she actually told me something in that moment that stayed with me. And she said most people reach their destiny when they take roads that when they're taking roads to avoid it. So she had a kind of way of putting it where I felt like I should at least give it a chance.
Yeah.
I think I talked to Chris Levatino later on that day, and when I got off the phone with him, I was just so fired up about this opportunity, about being here, about the way he described the team, you guys, and what I'd be walking into. And then he talked a lot about the word legacy. He started bringing up some coaches that I really look up to, and not because of, you know, they won championships or been successful, because I really feel like they've impacted players. And when he started talking about that, I was so fired up just to come and talk with him and meet with you guys. But I had never been here before. So the first time I came for my interview was the first time I ever saw Evanston Township. And the moment I walked in the building, I knew that this is exactly where I wanted to be.
I mean, technically it's like a little mini college.
I thought it was. I had to check my GPS, like, is this really Evanston Township? Exactly. It was just really mind-blowing.
You mentioned your mother, and I know how much she means to you. Why don't you just kind of speak towards your relationship? And
you know, my mom was obviously, as I told you, the big reason why I took the job. But I actually, and you may not know this either, I come from a family of Chicago police officers.
I do.
So most of them are Chicago police officers, and just growing up, my mom was like incredibly tough on me, to the point where like we didn't have the greatest relationship when I was younger, because she just pushed me so much. But then you realize as you got older, and I think we connected as well too, because I think you have parents that push you too because they want you to do the best, and we were able to connect through that. And I'm so grateful that she was that way with me, because she didn't allow me to do anything but my best in everything. If I was, you know, walking down the street, give it your best. If I was washing the dishes, give it your best. To have parents that really push you that way, it just really shows they believe in you. And I'm just really grateful to have had her in my life for as long as I did, you know, so.
Great answer. I really do think that's why we connected, because obviously when you think of Evanston, I think both my parents, my mom, Jamela Dorsey, and my dad, Steve Wool, kind of like always come up in conversation. And I've never told you this, but I really think you coming in my senior year was another big reason why I got the scholarships that I got. And I'm even getting emotional, but you really believed in me, and sometimes I didn't believe in myself. And I think that because of the way you pushed me, even though you're very nonchalant, very laid back, but it was still out of like genuine, like if you don't do this, you're not going to see the results that you need. And you know, I don't feel like I ever properly thanked you, and now I feel like this is the stage to thank you, because I don't think I would have been half the player if you didn't step into my life senior year, like off the court and on the court. So, you know, you really do have an impact on our lives, like every day. Even when you call me, like you don't even know when you FaceTime me at school, because she FaceTimes me at school and just checks in, you know, says like, oh, your hair looks good, like, are you playing? Like, that always means like the world to me, so.
I appreciate you saying that.
Of course, you know you're my girl. Okay, so besides me, like, what do you enjoy about coaching?
There's so much that I enjoy about coaching. Like we talked about the teaching aspect of it. So I really have grown just to love teaching the game. And we've started doing stuff with our kids like at a younger level. Like we have our feeder, our camps, and you know, I was looking forward to feeder practice like more than I was looking forward to the high school practice sometimes, because the kids were just getting so excited about the game. And like, you know, this playing basketball can take you so many great places.
So many places,
and just to be able to be a small part, like what you just said, I mean, that means a lot, because as much as I push you guys and want you guys to be successful, like I still want us to be able to have a relationship where, you know, we can talk about anything. Like you can call me, I can call you, and I love that the relationship builds to that once you guys leave.
Yeah, I like that too. Definitely, because when we were running and doing 17s, I was like, I'm never talking to this lady again after I leave this gym. But no. Okay, so what are some, I'm not going to say negatives, but things that maybe aren't like your favorite about coaching?
That's a good question.
It is a good question.
I think the hardest part is probably the sacrifice that it takes to be a coach. And unless you either, you know, have a parent that coaches or maybe like a spouse that coaches, you don't really understand like the time that it takes. You know, the vacations that you missed, the parties, birthday parties that you miss, just a lot of things that I want to go to support my family. Sometimes I'm not able to. And I have brothers that played. I missed a lot of their games. I wasn't able to see their games, so it's hard. Makes it a little bit harder, like when you have a trip plan that you can't go on. You know, then one of your players says, "Oh, I'm going to Bora Bora for 2 weeks and have fun in the gym." You know, so I think those are like the hard moments where you have to realize that it's a sacrifice, but it's so fulfilling of a job that you kind of just deal with it. And not that it's a negative. I think it'd be really helpful, I think, if people really understood what it takes to be a coach and the time that you put in.
I definitely understand that. It kind of aligns with being a basketball player as well. I know you know. But, you know, when everyone's like, oh, I have summer off, and then you only have 10 days and you have to come back for summer conditioning, it just, stepping into that gym and smelling the gym that smells like outside, it's just like, my heart is stopping right now. And, you know, I always, thinking back on it when I was younger and I had to miss out on like birthday parties and whatever events and my family get-togethers to go to another AAU game from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And now you're just sitting here like, wow, well, I guess got my whole school paid for. And you just make so many connections. Like, I know you were speaking about your connections, and this is kind of a transition into the next question about the USA Basketball and the 17U. Can you just kind of speak to, you know, stepping into that role, you know?
Yeah, it's the call that, like, as a coach, you don't think is coming. So then when it comes, you're like, wow. And you have to kind of sit back and say, wow, because there's only, you know, when I went the first time as a court coach, there was only one other court coach. And we're talking about like the entire nation. And you feel like special to be there. But then obviously you got to put the work in, and you want to get called back. So then this summer, when they called me back to be an assistant, I actually, you know, I'm not an overly emotional person, but I got pretty emotional because I just felt like, what an honor, first off, to be able to coach with USA Basketball. And then obviously you want to do a good job and continue on if that's possible. But it's, for me, like, I'm really looking at it to serve. Like, to be able to serve on that level. Like, I get to coach you guys at Evanston and things I do in the city as far as coaching. But now I get to coach kids from all over the country. And it's such an honor, and I feel like I'm so excited for the World Cup in a couple weeks. We got a great team. The team that we picked from the trials is just, it's just gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait for it.
Speak about the Olympic Village. I know my teammate, to give her a quick shout out, India Pagan, played in the Olympics, and she spoke about like meeting all these people, just walking around the village. Like, what was it like for you?
It was surreal. I mean, you walk around and you see posters of Olympians like Wilma Rudolph and Jesse Owens, and then you walk into the different facilities and you see the gymnastics team and the fencing team upstairs and the court, and you see American flags everywhere, and you just kind of know the space that you're in. The space has been shared by people who won gold medals. It's just, walking around, like I took a lot of pictures. You know, I was trying to sneak and kind of take them too, and I was just really excited. I'm so excited to go back. Like we leave in a couple weeks, and like I said, I never been to Europe, so the fact that the World Cup is in Hungary, I'm so excited.
Yeah. No, I went to Paris. You know that.
Yes,
so I think you don't like it. They're a little mean out there though. They don't really like Americans. I'm so serious. Okay, so kind of just speaking to the future, like what do you see for the ETHS program, and like what's your legacy that you kind of want to leave? You've already left the legacy, but what do you continually want to leave?
When I took the job, my #1 goal was to win a state championship. And I think we have had teams that could have won it. You know, there's a school over to the west that has given us a little bit of heartbreak, but that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I really want you guys to transition into great college careers if that's what you want. Yeah. If you're not going on to play, just that being in this program helped to make you a better person, a stronger person, a more confident person. You know, I'm big on that stuff. So, I mean, 20 years from now, I just hope that all the players that play here kind of have the same story, you know, that you do. And you actually have to work at that, because a lot of that's, you know, building relationships and making sure that, you know, I tell you guys all the time, like, I can't treat you the same, right? Because everybody kind of needs different things. I want to be fair. But I just really, really want you guys to have a good experience. And if that means that, you know, we win a lot and we have success, that's great. But more importantly, like, how you turn out as people means just a lot more to me. So I hope that's my legacy.
It is. Well, so far.
So far, it's only been 6 years.
I know. It feels like a lot longer, honestly. So you kind of already touched on it, but how do you make it a priority to keep in touch with players? I know how you make it a priority with me, but and Crystal, you know.
You know, I have this idea in my mind that, and this is not even you guys, anytime somebody comes on my mind, I just call them or I text them. I think it's kind of a reminder that I need to check in. And a lot of times when that happens and I call someone, they're like, oh man, I really need to talk to you. So I try to practice that often. So that's a great way to keep up with you guys. Obviously, like, I follow your careers and I watch your games, check in with your coaches just to make sure everything's good. But I really want this to be, and you probably could speak to this too, like a family. Like, I think it's cool when you walked in the gym today and like everybody knows who you are and you guys are talking, and it's obvious that you guys are talking outside of this space. And that just, I mean, that makes me so happy to see that. So
yeah, I have to agree. Always coming back here, it's a good vibe. Like, even seeing like Kayla, because Kayla also went on to play Division I basketball at American. And, you know, it actually warms my heart, because she'll still call me and ask me advice about, oh, how do you deal with this? Or, you know, just, and it makes me feel wise, even though when I don't even know what I'm doing my own self, like, you know what I mean? So I just think that, and even when you texted us, like you texted us a couple days ago about, like, you know, running and doing pickup here at the gym, it just always feels like a welcoming environment. Like, credit to you, you know, you kind of build that environment for us. So let me just transition to the next question. Outside of basketball, what's been the most rewarding thing you've done at ETHS? Tough question.
It's a tough question, because there's a lot of things I feel like. Like, we talked a little bit about the feeder. I love that we're inspiring the next generation of female hoopers, because, to be honest with you, the numbers for basketball at the lower levels, especially at the youth level, is going down drastically. Like, a lot of kids aren't playing basketball. So I love the fact that we're building that here. We want it to grow and be stronger. I love the relationship that I get to build with all the athletes. Like, we've had, in the last 6 years, some really incredible athletes here at ETHS from all different sports. So I love the fact that I get to connect with them. You know, I love being in this building. You know, I used to actually be a sub, so when I was teaching, just being able to, and I was actually in the PE department, so, you know, everybody has to take physical education. So you kind of see almost every single person in the building at least a few times. So Evanston has been really good to me, and I know I'm not from here, you know. Sometimes I walk around and I feel like, oh, maybe I might be, because of, you know, but I love this community.
Yeah.
I love how much I've been supported in this community. And it's not even with the players. It's like you guys, your families have taken me in. Our athletic administration, like all of our coaches, it's just really like a special place to be. And I feel like really blessed that I was able, 6 years ago to walk into this situation.
Well, we are blessed to have you, let me tell you. Kind of just to like wrap it up, the final question, what should people know about you that they may not know already?
That's another good question, tough question. I think most people obviously look at me as like the basketball coach. And I think like, on the outside looking in, I probably look pretty like intimidating or mean. But I think like at my core, I truly want like my life to be a service to others. It's something that I learned at a young age, that you just want to be a good person. Outside of like basketball, I think some of my interests, like I love to cook. I think people typically like to eat my food, so I think I'm pretty good at it. I love football, so I'm watching football like every Sunday. You probably don't know this, I've actually started making the videos for our intros.
Really?
So I'm really getting into videography.
That's good.
And I love it. I mean, I want to maybe take some classes on it too. And then probably last is, I'm a huge music fan. You guys hate my music.
Yes.
But I listen to any and everything, and I feel like I actually have a hidden talent where if you tell me kind of like a situation, I can give you the best song for that situation.
We'll see if that's true later.
Test me out.
I will be. Okay, so kind of just to wrap up this interview, I'm just going to speak a little bit about Coach Johnson and her character. I think the world needs more Coach Johnsons in the world. She is an amazing person. On and off the court, I always felt welcome when I come home, or even when I was at school, like I talked about earlier, always getting a text about, oh, you played really good this game. Even if she didn't text me before and told me she was watching the game, I just always knew she was watching, and kind of just, opening my eyes to things that I would have never known at a 17-year-old. You know what I mean? Kind of just the recruiting process, how to carry myself. Always go to a school where they want you more than you probably want to go there, because it's always about wanting to be wanted, and kind of just developing my game to be at the Division I level. I think because of Coach Johnson and her conditioning at 6 a.m., I learned very quickly that, the transition might be a little bit harder than I thought it was, but due to her efforts and kind of just introducing us to the weight room, and before it was this nice, obviously, I never lifted before until I met Coach Johnson, and kind of just being able to see what it's like to have a college schedule in high school, which is not very usual in a lot of other cases, really helped the transition for me not to be as brutal as it was for a lot of other people. I felt like, I said, oh, this is college? Like, it was hard, but I really felt because of that last year and her getting us prepared to take that next step, I think that has a lot to do with the success that I did have in college. So, yeah. We love Coach Johnson. She's the best. So we just want to thank you for watching another episode of People You Know, and I hope you guys stop her in the street and tell her how wonderful of a lady she is.